Alrighty, folks. So, when I say J.R.R. Tolkien, what comes to people's minds? Obviously, The Lord of the Rings. To the more dedicated fans, The Silmarillion. And, of course, there's that one where it all started, was The Hobbit. The 1930s children's book that kind of is 300 pages long, but somehow got adapted into 3 different movies a decade after The Lord of the Rings. Make sense of that. So I just recently just rewatched for the first one, An Unexpected Journey, for the first time in 13 years almost. And how do I feel about it? Well, it is nice to have Peter Jackson back directing, and he does the best that he can given the material. So of course, obviously, we're going to have Bilbo's journey as he goes out to defeat the dragon Smaug, who pretty much is guarding something known as the Arkenstone. This is the most coveted jewel or mineral that the dwarves held in their possession for a very long time, but eventually these dwarves would fend off pretty much anything going on, orcs and the like. And, they lived in the mountains and never really had a relationship with elves until one day a certain dragon comes a knocking on the door, demolishes them, and our King Elrond wanted to not put his people's lives in risk, so he did not team with the dwarves at all. And ultimately, they had to move elsewhere, made the Mines of Moria and everything, and finally we get Martin Freeman portraying our second favorite Hobbit of all, our favorite oldest Hobbit, let me say that. And yes, I can say that arguably An Unexpected Journey is the best of the trilogy. I think that the slower pace and the just the reintroduction, everything just works. This felt like what the introduction should have been in the Fellowship of the Rings. I did have, like, as I said in my review, I did have like 1 or 2 problems with that. That seems to be rectified here. This almost self-contained story with 13 dwarves, Gandalf, and even Gollum making appearance. It feels like the book has come to life, and they could have just as easily split this into 2. This would have been a dang good first half, It just felt like, I love this book, and it's like 3 hours long, though. That's the catch. I think, obviously, that this movie feels, like I said, it's encapsulated, and it feels like an epic adventure with a great ending. And let me explain. Because we get to see a lot more fantasy and slow pace that works so dang good that you just love it. You just love to be entranced. Obviously when all the dwarves come and everything, it's like the humor comes in. They're all just having a good time inside this stranger's hole. Not a house, but a hole. It's technically a home, but whatever. It's like pilfering his pantry, nearly destroying some 100-year-old dishes, pillaging the plumbing, and just generally just being a nuisance. But they all mean well, except when Thorin comes in. Yes, he is interesting. Thorin has been scorned in the past, and he's here to lead his merry group of dwarves along as they try and get the dragon. It's like, hey, let's have them interact. Let's have Bilbo decide, like, hey, I'm going to sign this contract. It's like, of course, many things, which was like getting knocked out, knocked unconscious, incineration, and having funeral arrangements prepared. Yeah, this movie does have a good sense of humor where, like, it balances everything well. For the most part. I will admit that it did, when they're inside the goblin's lair or whatever, it just felt like a video game. Not that it's bad, but you could just tell that in between all the ladders, grabbing this item that all these dwarves use to push themselves forward against all the massive hordes, I don't know. It just felt. I haven't read the novel, but it just felt like it was just influenced by whatever game was popular that year, 2011, 2012. So I don't know. It just felt like less like a story and just more of a chance to get some action going on. But there were so many goblins. It was so hard to tell what was going on. I'm like, what? And obviously, I think that Jackson was incorporating a new technology or whatever it was at 48 frames per second. But it just felt awkward to look at, especially when the mountain trolls, humorous as they were, trust me, they were. Just the way how they just turned to stone. It just looks so weird. It's like lousy claymation. But I'm willing to I am at this point willing to overlook it because it. No, I can't. I really can't forgive the goblin scene. But everything else, but mostly it all worked out well because it's like, hey, we get the fun as hell Radagast. Oh my, arguably a favorite character here, especially when he's inhaling of whatever Gandalf is smoking. It almost looks like he may be that may be like a subtle sign that he likes to smoke marijuana. I don't know. We just get to see the smoke just emanating from his ears, like just like that. That was freaking funny. He's got like all the rabbits and really cares about the animals and stuff like that. So he's got like the perfect blend of humor, caring, and he's still a wizard, so he still has some powers. And the actor Sylvester, I forgot his last name, portrays him so well. And it's like you want to see more of him. And it's like we get enough of him, which I am grateful for, but I want to see a little bit more because he's just so dang entertaining. And obviously we get some. I was surprised to see Christopher Lee. This was like, it was nice to see him return and get some more pronounced screen time. And we get a meeting with him and like 3 other people, how they're going to defeat Smaug and a union and stuff like that. And this is pre-Sauron teaming up with Sauron, so that felt, I guess, more respectful to Christopher Lee's legacy. But yeah, what can I say? I overall like this movie. It's like I always love the music. Like Howard Shore did a freaking phenomenal job in here. When they show the beautiful vistas, New Zealand, and everything else, you get the epic score. What with the horn section to really have an expansive sound, because this movie was going for still some fun with like the dwarves singing and everything else, and when they're singing about beer and everything else and proclaiming the mines, it's like, yes, I want this. And even the song by Neil, I forgot who, singing Mountains Forevermore, fitting with the whole fantastical mythology tone. It's just bewildering to see. So yeah, it's like, on one hand, I like a lot of the stuff. I like the balancing here. I like the fantasy. I like the more slow paced with this movie, but when it feels like a video game, but it does also feel like a video game. So, will my opinion change about it? Will my opinion change about the other two? We will find out. With the there were 2 other wizards that were mentioned, but because they could not acquire the rights to every single, like this other parts of Tolkien's bibliography, they just could only mention the wizards but not say their names, which I'm just like, okay, that explains a lot, of course. And poor Ian McKellen, because of the size discrepancy of him being too tall, and they had to make the other actors look small compared to him. He actually lived in a separate household and could only communicate with the others via an earpiece, which frustrated and saddened him. And I'm like, you're doing this to truly one of the great actors, one of the greatest stage actors of all time. That's just kind of pathetic, really. But we get to see more. I actually get to see more magic from him, which I'm like, rather than just being a tactician. That was actually pretty cool. But yeah, poor man, he got like, flowers and everything else um from his co-stars and everything else. So he wasn't feeling alone, but you could definitely see the frustration as he's having to just perform by himself. So it's just like, man, that sucks. And of course, Christopher Lee finally gets some redemption. Enough. Which, like it, we get to hear his incredibly deep voice with him portraying and looking badass. So yeah, overall, The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey feels like a great restart to Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson has returned, and this movie feels self-contained, but also slow-paced, but fun. But still getting ready for stuff ahead. So do I recommend it? Oh yes, I do.